Welcome to the Midweek Tease with me, Adele Onyango, where I share some random and not too random thoughts on things. And in this episode, I wanted to talk about internalized shame. Over the last 2 weeks, I have both experienced and spotted things that have made me want to talk about this topic with you this week. The first being, if you're a long-time listener of all things legally clueless, then you know I've featured on one of my favorite global storytelling platforms ever, The Moth. I have been both a host of quite a few of their main stages. I've hosted main stages with them in Nairobi, in New York. No, I've hosted in Nairobi and Thailand and Rwanda. And I have been a storyteller in Nairobi, in New York 2 or 3 times. My goodness. You can see like very many times and in very many places around the world. They are some of my favorite people ever. And in fact, this November, I'm going to be hosting their main stage in Nairobi. And if you love storytelling, you should definitely come. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. So sometime back, I was in New York and I shared a story at one of their main stages about the death of old traditions and the birth of new traditions. What I loved about that show is that it was in the Greenwood Cemetery, which was so fitting for my story because quite a few things were dying. So I talked about the death of my mom, the end of my marriage, and the birth of this new chapter I'm in, both in terms of just like the version I am and also like moving to an entire new city where I knew when I moved here, I think I only knew one person. That has since changed because small talk, but you get what I mean. Anyway, such a wonderful thing happened. My story was featured on the Moth podcast that played across radio stations in the United States and also on their online podcast. And to be honest, I have received so much love and connection from that story that it's just been so overwhelming. They have been icons who I admire and have followed in terms of the work and the things they produced, who have followed me and reached out because of that story. So it's incredible the power that stories have and stories of your lived experience, right? But there were quite a few people who were angry with me not wanting to have kids or take a man's name in a marriage or, those things, which were all of one line in the story. But this is not to explain myself because I truly have adopted this belief that I don't owe anyone an explanation for my choices, for my decisions. No, the only one who has to understand what it is I'm doing, what it is I want is myself. What I do want to shine a torch on is internalized shame. So that was the first thing I experienced. The other thing I saw that led me to want to talk about this with you is there is a Kenyan global icon who put up a picture, as one does on Instagram. She was dressed in an outfit that she loved, and in the comments was everyone, including Kenyan personalities, telling her that she shouldn't dress like that, etc., etc. And man, I was just like, this is internalized shame heavily at work. Internalized shame is sneaky. It feels very personal, but it's society's voice living inside of us. And it doesn't just limit you. These 2 examples have shown me that it influences how you treat other women too. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever judged another woman for being too much and then later realize that you judge yourself in the exact same way? Let's go with the dressing example. You spot a woman wearing maybe a short skirt, and your first thought, whether you verbalize it or not, is, oh, that is too much. She's just doing too much. Nah, 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 nah. And you tell yourself those same things when you get dressed. So you put on something and you're like, no, no, this is too short. Like, or maybe you don't like your own legs. Am I making sense here? Right? You judge another woman for being too much, and then you realize that you judge yourself in the exact same way. There is a big difference between shame and guilt, because most of the time, when you want someone to have some shame, I'm sure you've had that quote, what you really want them to be able to feel is guilt. Let me tell you the difference between the two. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. And there are many psychologists who describe shame as an attack on your whole self. So internalized shame means those cultural rules, about how we should look, how we should act, how we should speak, how we should love. They become our inner voice. And it's like we're carrying a built-in critic 24/7. And specifically for women, we don't invent this shame on our own. It's given to us at home. Those quotes of good girls don't answer back, good girls don't sit like that, good girls don't get their clothes dirty. Am I shouting? It's given to us in culture and religion. Don't be too ambitious, you're going to scare off the men. Don't be too sexual, you're going to come off as loose. Don't wear makeup because only loose women wear makeup. It's given to us in media. There's a whole long list of endless beauty rules that the media shoves down our throats in adverts even. If we go to social media, the filters want us to look a specific way. There's some Instagram filters. There's one that I saw, and when I tried it, it slimmed my nose, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on? What the hell is wrong with my nose? I love my nose. It's like a button nose. What's happening? Now, over time, these messages become part of us, right? And there's research on internalized misogyny showing women even start enforcing these standards not only on themselves, but also on others. Okay, the reason I clearly have this agenda against shame and even built an entire show, aka for mannerless women, to make sure we see a new generation of shame-free women, is because shame is so limiting. It's not just a feeling, it's a cage. And I want to touch on just 4 ways shame holds you back, especially as a woman. Number 1, you start silencing your voice. So you stop speaking up in meetings. You don't speak up or advocate for your needs in relationships or friendships. You don't speak up online because you fear you're going to be judged. For example, you want to challenge an unfair comment, but you stay quiet. You don't want to be seen as difficult. It silences your voice. Number 2, it shrinks your presence. Shame convinces you to take up less space. So you're going to be constantly apologizing. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, and I hate this for women. You're going to be downplaying your achievements. Or even worse, you start choosing smaller goals so you don't look arrogant. Yikes. The third way it limits you, you start disconnecting from others. Oh, yeah. This one I learned through my good friend, Janet Mbugwa. She came on the show for Mannerless Women, and we had such a candid, beautiful conversation on friendship. And she had been telling me from before how shame has limited her friendships. And we've been very intentional about building our friendship. And I kept telling her, I don't understand. I don't understand how shame plays a role here. She said on the show, you should definitely watch that episode, how because she was ashamed of the version of her that she was, she did not think she was worthy enough to be in a friendship. And so she was locked away because of shame. Yeah, shame can whisper, if they see the real you, they'll reject you. The fourth way shame limits us. Oof. And this is what I was saying in the intro to this episode, is you start policing other women. When we carry shame, we project it. We start calling another woman too loud, too sexy, not ladylike. When deep down, those are the exact things you have been told to suppress yourself. So you're projecting. And I don't think any one woman has a monopoly on womanhood. And that excites me. I don't even feel threatened by it. I am so interested in seeing all the many ways womanhood can exist. Not one woman has a monopoly on womanhood. Not an older woman, not a younger woman, not a woman with a master's or a PhD, not a woman who's a farmer, not a corporate baddie, not a woman who's a businesswoman, not a woman who speaks English, not a woman who speaks Vernac. None of us have a monopoly on what womanhood should look like. And man, this is just how shame spreads. It doesn't just limit you, it divides us. So every time we shame another woman, we reinforce the same rules that keep us small. And for me, I've really thought about because I'm very passionate about women's rights and their dignity and their safety and their progression, their ability to be their most genuine, free self. And I have had to keep going back and unpacking and figuring out, where does shame still exist within me, because it's going to hinder me from doing this work. Because what I want is really two things for women. I want women to have access to unbiased information that can then allow them to make the choice they want to make. And I want to ensure that women have an abundance of choice, even when the choice that the woman makes wouldn't be the choice that I would make. I don't get to police another woman. I don't. Because the minute I do, I am perpetuating the same thing that I'm trying to fight. You get me? And I really love reading Brene Brown, and there's something she writes about called shame resilience. And she defines it as the ability to move through shame with courage and connection instead of silence and judgment. And her research shows 4 key steps, right? Number 1 is to recognize shame and its triggers. So notice when your inner critic is speaking, and then ask, what just happened that made me feel not enough? Do you know I started doing that when I'm scrolling on social media? Maybe I see another woman in the same industry as me launching something or doing something, and I'm like, the immediate feeling isn't one of, ooh, clap or gratitude. It's a bile. And I started going inwards and being like, girl, what's happening there? Why is my inner critic speaking like that? And all of the times, it's usually because I've shamed myself out of doing something that's not even the same thing as that person was doing, but it's something that I view in the same magnitude. Does that make sense? So that's the first step. The second step is to practice critical awareness. So get curious, right? Oh, and I love this. I love this step, because you need to start asking yourself, who decided this was the standard, and does it actually serve me? Most of the time, it's culture. It's not truth. There's a difference between the two. So for example, this global icon, who happens to be an African Kenyan woman, who put on this outfit, and the entire interwebs, including women, had everything to say about the outfit she was wearing, saying it's too revealing, it's too this, it's too that. When I saw that, I was so confused, because she was dressed closer to what our ancestors used to walk around wearing, and in some parts of this continent still walk around wearing, because I remember when I grew up in Botswana, they are just out of the capital city, you will see people wearing traditional wear, which meant their top half of their body wasn't covered. And so if we go back to practice critical awareness, the question is, who decided this was the standard? Who decided that outfit she's wearing is too exposing, too revealing. Who's the person setting this standard? In that particular scenario context, I was like, y'all are tearing this girl apart, wearing clothes that colonizers told you to wear. I mean, can we please get serious, right? Can we please get serious? So that question, please, I like, that's the one that I really love. Who decided this was the standard, and does it actually serve me? The third step is to reach out. Share your experience with someone safe. Let me tell you, shame grows in secrecy. When you keep it to yourself, it becomes a monster. It becomes this big thing that you can't overcome. Share it in a safe space. I have one friend who I talk to about all of these things. I have my person who I talk to about all of these things. And immediately, as I'm sharing the story, I can feel the shame shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink. And the fourth one is speak shame. Put words to it. Instead of letting it silently eat at you, say, I feel ashamed because I believe I should look like, I believe I should be doing, I believe I should be on. When you speak it, you automatically start to question, Allah, but why do I feel like I should look like na? Why do I feel like na? And you start to question it. And once you start doing that, you're stripping the shame of its power. I feel like this is how we build resilience. By noticing, by questioning, by reaching for connection, and by refusing to stay silent. And so I want to give you some reflection prompts. I have about 4. And if you like to journal, you can journal about them. You can just mull over them in your head, whatever works for you, man. The first one is, what rules do you live by that you never chose? Second one is, where do you notice shame making you smaller? Third one, when do you catch yourself judging other women? And what does it reveal about your own shame? Fourth one, what's one area of your life where you want to practice shame resilience? Now listen, internalized shame is just going to keep us small. You know, judging others is just going to keep us divided. But learning to face shame with awareness, with compassion and connection is what I think really starts to give us back our power. So please this week, start noticing where shame is whispering in your life and just choose to speak back. Start erasing that internalized shame. There's a freedom, man, waiting for you on the other side, and a connection to other sisters. Instead of judging them, there's bridges to be built to connect us. Thank you for sitting with me in this conversation. And if you feel like you connected with it, please feel free to share it. And if you feel like there is a specific person in your life who needs to hear this, share this with them. Thanks for listening to the Midweek Tease, a Legally Clueless Africa production. Episodes go out every Wednesday, and you can learn more about us by going to legallycluelessafrica.com.